Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. 6 o'clock here in the morning, Tuesday morning, November the 1st. I'm glad to be here. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. We're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And chat room's open, and I did pop the link into there to what we're looking at this last week or so, and looking at soul expressions, abuse recovery, and a website by a woman named Becky. And she's a therapist, a counselor. She's worked with survivors of sexual abuse and child sexual abuse and whatnot. And she's a survivor herself. So she's written some great stuff there and lots of good information, like really, pretty inclusive. And I like her website, and I think it's great. And, you can chat with her if she's actually online. She's got like a little chat icon there. And if she's online, you can actually chat with her. So it's a great resource and a support system for people who may be suffering, adult survivor issues and whatnot because of child sexual abuse and whatnot. So that's what we're looking at. So thanks for being here, everybody. Appreciate it. And, this month will be 2 years that I started doing Blog Talk Radio, so I appreciate everybody who's tuning in. And you have to listen at your own discretion. I'm not a counselor or a therapist. I'm just a private citizen paying to do my shows here on Blog Talk Radio. And I just want to be one more voice speaking out about this stuff. That's what happened 2 years ago. I was actually listening to a great show here, Voices of Hope by Gail Crabtree, and I was listening to her show. Just happened to see it on Facebook, and decided to start my own show. And just didn't know what I was going to do with it or how long I'd be on the air. But I knew I wanted to speak out about child abuse and really a whole lot about child abuse prevention, and then I realized that this would be a really handy tool for me for my healing journey as a survivor of abuse, and also, to share what I find out there that's helpful. Not that I can't endorse any of it really, because I'm not a therapist or counselor or anything like that. I just know what works for me, but what works for me may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. We're all different. We all need different types of help. We all need different things. We're all different in different parts of our healing journey in different stages, right, if you're a survivor. So you have to listen at your own discretion to all of my shows. And I'm talking about abuse. Abuse is a sensitive subject. And so, you have to be sure that it's something that won't bother you. So if you're not sure about abuse topics and you think that the topics of abuse might bother you, you have to do the right thing and turn the show off, right? It is your discretion to listen, right? So, because the abuse topics can trigger survivors, right? So you have to know what's good for you to listen to, right? And young people under the age of 18, you just have to have permission to listen to my shows. Just have an adult, somebody who's older, who's an adult, who can help you make a decision whether or not you should be listening, because my shows are not for younger children, and, they're adult. There's a whole lot of adult material in my shows. So anyone under the age of 18 and under, I just ask that you have someone like adult listen to the show with you who's older, who can help you decide whether or not you should be listening. So thanks, everybody. We'll get right into the show here this morning, and we're looking at the inner child healing portion of her website. That's really what I was interested in, because I'm still working through my inner child healing work, right? It's a slow process. It doesn't, I can only do so much work on it, each day, right, or each week that goes by, right? There's only 4 weeks in a month, so, every month I can only do really so much work on it, because I can't spend every single day all day in it. And I don't even know if that would be healthy. You know what I mean? Like for me, I need to be able to maintain my life at the same time that I'm doing all this stuff. So that's why, it's pretty slow going. But I think it's a good pace for me. I'm not trying to rush through this stuff. Like I just trying to just do it as it comes and deal with things as they come and not put too much pressure on myself. Like, okay, I want to be healed in 2 weeks. It's like I know that it's going to take time, so I'm willing to give it the time that it needs and not stress out over the amount of time that I'm spending on it. And I just kind of go with the flow, because, my schedule is pretty busy, and especially when I'm working. I'm working full-time and quite busy in my personal life, too. So, I can only donate so many hours to it a week, And so it's a slow process. So I'm still working on the inner child healing stuff, and I don't know, it'll probably be years working on this, but I'm in such a better place now because I did, I'll tell you what worked for me. What has really helped me out was visualizations. Visualizations of going in and just like, from John Bradshaw's book, Homecoming, Reclaiming and Healing Your Inner Child, as well as some visualization work that my friend Gypsy Witch Kate was doing with me, where she got her stuff from another woman. And it really did help me out. I don't know if it helps other people out. I've heard from other survivors that of abuse that it does help them, that it did help them to go in and rescue their inner children or their inner child, and create a safe place within our own mind, within our own self that says, no, you're safe. You're safe now, right? To these little wounded inner children, whoever they may be. And so I went and did that and rescued as many as I knew that were there, that needed to be rescued. These were all the points where I was wounded as a child, and I could vividly remember, and quite, explicitly remember the details of the trauma, where I got stuck, right, as a child and didn't get any help. And that's where my little inner children were left, and they were stuck there, right? So I had to go back in and rescue them and create this safe place within, and that's that visualization work. Really, it's just kind of like mental stuff, creating inside of our minds this, and it might even be more, some spiritual stuff if you believe in that stuff, creating a safe place for our inner children, right? So I did that, and so now I'm just working on getting in touch with them and actually dialoguing with them, in some form, whether it's talking to them or letting them talk to me. That's my little self talking to my big self now. Letting my voice come out through my writing, letting my inner children write through my hand onto paper just to see what they have to say, because these are all points where the trauma was just too much, and that's why it scarred the brain. Now, if you look into the actual physiological stuff that happens to the brain because of abuse or trauma, it doesn't even have to be abuse. It could be some sort of traumatic event in a child's life, like, whether it be a natural disaster or a death in the family or, death of a pet even, some traumatic experience, car accident, things that are traumatic, right, can leave this scarring on the brain, and it's actually a real scarring, and that's sort of the points where they figure, the research that's been done, that where the inner child gets stuck, and it's obvious because of the trauma, that little marker stays there. And so that's what John Bradshaw talks a lot about in Homecoming. That marker, we have to go in and then change that marker. We have to find it and then create a new marker, one that says, you're safe now, and it's okay, and no one's gonna hurt you. You're safe. You're in a safe place. I have to kind of convince myself from so long ago that everything's okay, and that I'm fine, and that it's kind of a changing our because we can't really go back and change the past, right? There's just no way to do that, but not in reality. You know what I mean? We could pretend that none of this stuff happened, but that's just denial. But what we have to do is then go back in and basically convince ourselves from so long ago that, we are okay. I am okay. But I have to believe it. It doesn't do any good to lie to yourself, So it's really positive. Like, it's really helped me out, to do this work. And I still, like I said, I'm still working through it. I haven't even done the markers yet. I just read through to see how to do it, but I haven't actually placed those positive, really good markers in there yet, but I'm going to. And it seems like a great thing that they've come up with, There's lots of people working on this stuff. Beverly Searle, she's going to be coming on my show. I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, Searle, Beverly Searle. She's going to be on Friday night on my show, Saturday her time. She's in Australia. She's coming on to talk about forget talking therapy, because she's worked with people who had DID, PTSD, like symptoms, PTSD, people who were survivors of childhood trauma. It doesn't necessarily have to be abuse, but traumatic stuff. And she's worked with people for so many years, and really came up with it based on some seriously sound theories that visualization really works. And so she created this stuff so that she's going to actually come on and talk to us on Friday night. That's going to be amazing. That's going to be awesome. Like, I do talk therapy. This is my talk therapy here, this show, in the morning, one child abuse survivor to another. I find it very helpful for me because it allows me to say what I never got to say as a child, things that I never got to just tell my mother to her face, you know what I mean? Like how much I needed her to love me, how much I needed her to care about me, and it was just never going to happen. And what that allows me to do in saying that, out loud, it allows my inner ear to hear it, first of all, so that I know that that's the truth, that I really loved my mother and I wish that she would have loved me back, And it's a painful place to be. Absolutely it is. But the fact is I can't change it, you know. But what I can do now is realize that, you know what, I love myself. I can love myself, you know what I mean? And I do. I didn't used to. I used to hate myself. But I'm learning how to really nurture myself and how to how to be good to myself and how to love myself. Over this last 4.5 years, like when I first started my healing journey about 4.5 years ago, that's when I really started with the positive affirmations, just telling myself I do love myself, I do count, I do matter, I'm worth, you know, being alive. My existence is, you know, does matter. This kind of stuff, right? And you know, at first I didn't even really believe it. I was just saying it because I thought, no, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to convince myself that, you know, I didn't deserve what I got as a child. I really didn't, and no child does. See, that's why I know that that's the truth, because there's no possible way anybody can tell me that a child could ever deserve to be abused. I just don't buy into it. I don't believe it. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? So I know that I didn't deserve to be treated the way that I was, and so, you know, it's easy for me to sit there and say that, right? Because I see that that's the truth, right? In the meantime, I have to get around those feelings of self-loathing and this feeling that I'm not good enough and that I'll never be good enough and that I'll always be just short of where I need to be in this life as a person. It's not so much my skills, you know, like if I wanted to upgrade my skills, that's not a problem. It's my own belief system, my own capabilities, you know, as far as just being a human being on this planet that can actually do anything, you know. And it's like that keeps me back. That definitely holds me back from doing a lot of things because I think, oh well, you know, I really, you know, I'm just a loser. You know what I mean? Like I'm just a nobody. I'm just somebody whose mother didn't love them, and you know what I mean? Like I'm just this person that's just maybe I'm ugly, right? And that's from being raped as a child. Maybe I'm disgusting. Maybe I'm maybe, you know what I mean? Like I don't go through and say maybe I deserve to be treated like that as a child because see I know the truth. That's just not true at all. But the thing is I have to get around those old things that I picked up along the way just from living in that environment for so many years, right? My whole childhood was like that, right? So I have to like get around that stuff, right? And so have to do a whole lot. I don't know if, you know, I don't want to say that I actually agree with forget talking therapy because it has helped me a lot. Now I don't know. I know that visualizations has helped me as well. So see, I can say a lot of good things about both of them, right? So you know, I can't, you know, just in my own personal healing journey, I know that both of them have helped me out immensely. So there you go. For me, talking was very important. I think it's important for survivors to talk, to get their voice out. You know, I wasn't allowed to say, "Mommy, how come you hurt me? How come you?" I used to get mad and tell her, "Look what you did to my face," you know, because she would rearrange my face. But I never, you know, allowed her to see that other side of me, which was, "You hurt me." You know what I mean? Look what you did to me. You know what I mean? Or to my brother. You know, I never even did confront my brother. I was afraid of my brother. He's 21 years old. He raped me, and you know, he hurt me. And I saw him a couple of times later on as a teenager, and I was basically I was just afraid of him. You know, he was a cocaine addict. He was a dangerous guy. You know what I mean? And he was suicidal, but mainly he was also dangerous. And he came to visit us for a few weeks one time when I was about 12, and then the next year he tried to kill himself. And I was talking to him on the phone, and that's when he told me that he said he enjoyed my body, and he sort of went into the details while he was killing himself of the fact that my body was just so sensual and smooth. I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't believe this phone conversation. And I had seen him for a few weeks the year before, and all I was afraid of him in the house. I was afraid to even be in the same room with him because my mom was working at the time. She was working a part-time job during the day. And I was kind of freaked out by the fact that he was there. You know, obviously, I mean, he had raped me and sodomized me as a child, right? So I kind of stayed clear of him, you know what I mean? So I never confronted him, and then he killed himself when I was 20. He was 33, so I was 20. When I was 20 years old, just turning 21, he killed himself. And then I turned 21, and at that point I met this guy, and I went to the gynecologist, and that's when they told me this. I told them I was a virgin with no sexual contact, right? Because, you know, what was I going to say? You know, I didn't want to say, well, I was raped as a child by my brother, you know. And so I didn't say anything. I just said, no, I'm a virgin, and I just filled out the card. then they came to me after the exam, and she was like, well, she was mad during the exam. She was pissed off, and she's like, so you want to recant that? Because you're not a virgin, honey. And I'm like, yes, I am. And she's like, I said, yes, I am. And I was embarrassed, you know what I mean? And she's like, no, we know what we're looking at, and we see the scar tissue. We know you were sexually abused as a child. Like you're the proof is there. And I was like, well, she says, well, you're 21, you're able to do whatever you want, but we're going to record what we're going to record. If you're not going to pursue it, and press charges and whatnot, my brother had already killed himself, so it was like, good luck trying to press charges, you know what I mean? I didn't even want to face that stuff. Like, I did not even want to face it. Like, at that point, when I was 21, 22 years old, I was just coming off of a huge drug addiction, cocaine and crystal and just any kind of drug I could get my hands on. And I had quit doing drugs the year before. And when my brother killed himself, it really was a wake-up call for me that I was heading down the same road. He was a cocaine addict, and he tried to kill himself many times, but he finally made it. And so, I was just coming out of this, this drug addiction, and I was starting to actually feel pretty decent in my life. Met this guy. That's why I went to the gynecologist. I would have never gone otherwise. But I wanted to get on the pill because we were going to start, becoming intimate and whatnot. And I just really loved this guy. I mean, I wanted to marry him, and we were going to get married. And after about a year and a half, we broke it off because the two of us were both abused as children, and neither one of us had dealt with our issues, and we were going to kill each other for sure. So we decided we better break it off. And he knew that eventually he would end up hurting me, and I told him, I said, well, that won't happen because I'll kill you first. And so we were like, well, we better break it off, because I was like, nobody's going to hurt me now. I'll kill you. I told him that literally to his face, and he believed me because he knew that I was totally capable of doing it. I refuse to take any more abuse, right? That's all there is to it. I will protect myself. So the thing is I at the age of 21, 22, I didn't want to deal with this issue that I had been raped as a child and been sexually abused and molested, and I thought, and even when this guy I got together with, he was the first guy that I actually ever let touch me, first of all, and that actually gave my permission for him to touch me. Other men had touched me without my permission. But this guy, he wanted to get close, and I just kept pushing him away, and I couldn't let him touch me, and that's where my poem Bound and Gagged comes from, because I had been so wounded as a child, and I had been bound and gagged for real. My brother bound me and put a gag in my mouth because he knew because I bit him the first time he tried to molest me, so he put a gag in my mouth so I wouldn't bite him and also so I wouldn't scream. And that's a horrible situation for a child to have to go through, and just to let a man touch me is just really a serious issue. I can't, I have a hard time even with that today. And so, when I met this guy, I so longed for, at the age of 21, 22, I was just young, and I really wanted to experience what a woman would experience, in this loving type of a relationship, you know what I mean, with this intimacy with this guy, and I was just so, wanting that, you know what I mean, a decent, normal, loving relationship with somebody, you know what I mean, and I just love this guy. So he when he finally, he said, somebody hurt you, he said. That's what it is. Somebody's hurt you, and that's why you're not letting me get close. And I said, absolutely, somebody hurt me. And I said, I told him, I said, do not hurt me. You know what I mean? And so he was a good man. Like, he was a really good guy. He was a few years older than me, not much, but a few years older than me. He was still in his 20s, but he was really, really a good man. You know what I mean? We spent a year and a half, almost 2 years together. And even though at the end we had to break it off, we still loved each other. It wasn't like we were like, oh, I hate you, He loved me and I loved him. We just knew we couldn't do it because neither one of us had dealt with our issues, right? So we had to break it off. It's unfortunate. And today I think he's happily married somewhere else, which is great. Good for him. Me, I'm happy. I got myself a sweetheart of 16 years, this guy that I met up here in Canada at the age of 30, so many years later after that other guy. I never ever did let another guy touch me, so I have serious issues with this. So I met this guy up here and I just fell in love with him, and we're still together, and he's a really good man and I trust him, and that's the thing. I mean, trust is a huge issue for me, so it has to be somebody very decent, otherwise I wouldn't have nothing to do with them. So There you go. So he's a really good guy, and that's my as far as my romantic or intimate relationships, that's it. You know what I mean? And it's been incredibly hard for me, absolutely incredibly hard. And so at the age of 21, like I was talking, I really did not want to face the fact that I had been sexually abused as a child. Like I just wanted to enjoy this relationship with this guy. You know what I mean? And so I shoved it even further down. It was like, oh, I did not hear what the gynecologist said. Part of my subconscious was like, oh, I didn't hear that. I'm just going to ignore what she said. In the meantime, when I went home and I had picked up my prescription for my pills to start my birth control, I was in my room and I was sitting there and I put the pills on the shelf and I was just about ready to have a breakdown. An emotional breakdown, because this woman had just told me, my gynecologist, that I had been sexually abused. She knew because the scar tissue was there, because my hymen was ripped apart and everything was just scarred, And she was like, you can lie to yourself and you can not pursue charges, whatever you want to do. But she says, we know the truth if we're going to record it. So I went home and I was just like devastated, because I didn't think that they'd be able to tell. You know what I mean? I didn't realize that they'd be able to even tell, you know what I mean, that I had been sexually assaulted as a child. And so it was pretty sad, really quite sad. I had already been told when I was 18 that my body would not probably be able to hold a child. I wouldn't be able to have a child. They said, good luck. Like, even if you got pregnant, you probably wouldn't be able to carry the child, right? That's the problem. So they were like, it'll be a miracle if you got pregnant. And if you do, your body will probably not carry the child. So don't be surprised. And they said, like, if you manage to have a miracle happen and you do get pregnant and you do carry the child, only have one, because your body just can't do it. And that's just the truth of it. I'm almost 46 years old, and my body is like really breaking down, and it's a lot of it's hereditary. You know what I mean? My mother, her side of the family was just so physically not well, and my dad's side is actually pretty good. So I have a mix, right? But still, my body is not in good shape. You know what I mean? And it has a lot to do with the whole, just not being taken care of as a child, and just the whole, also the hereditary stuff, right? But also the self-abuse and the drug use and the smoking, right? That's why I'm trying to quit smoking, right? And, if I quit smoking, I'd be helping myself a lot, right? For however many years I have left, right? And so it's hard. It's incredibly hard, because people look at my body like doctors. I don't really let anybody else look at my body. But I don't go to doctors very often either, but once in a while I have to go, which really sucks, And usually I'll only go if I'm dragged in by ambulance, but, once in a while I have to go for some reason. And they always look at me and they just shake their head. They're just like, what is the matter with you? You're like in your 40s, you shouldn't look like this, you know what I mean? Like my pictures, I look pretty youthful, but you don't get to see the damage done to my body, right? Whereas the doctors do. I don't let anybody see that. I don't wear shorts in public, you know what I mean? And so, it's pretty harsh, because it's embarrassing, you know what I mean, to sit there and, I've had a hard life, right? It's like, go into the details. I'll just give my doctors the copies of my books, and I'll be like, there you go, just read on if you really want to find out what's the matter with me. It's like, listen to a few of my shows, you know what I mean? It's a bit embarrassing to have to tell them, because they always look at you like what have you been doing to yourself? It's like, well, buddy, I did do some of this, but not all of it. And so it's a harsh situation. It's incredibly harsh for survivors, you know what I mean? But I know that, like, visualizations has definitely helped me out as far as bringing these inner children to a safe place, And recently, I just released my book, One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, The Journey, which is on Lulu if anybody wants to get a hold of it. It's an ebook as well, and it's really about this show. It's exactly what it is, about doing these shows and really what's going on behind the scenes while I was doing the shows, you know what I mean? Because I've had 2 years, I've been living for 2 years every day on top of doing these shows, you know what I mean? And so I kind of wanted to let survivors know that, that we can do this, you know what I mean? It's totally doable, whatever works for you, but make sure that in your process, that you make time for yourself, that you make time to work through some of these things, that you actually get some help and reach out. I'm not on my own. Like, I call it a self-help journey, but really it's not, because even though I'm doing this without therapy and without a psychotherapist or therapist or counselor, I'm not really on my own because I have a lot of friends who are helping me out. And one of my friends in particular is works with survivors of DID and whatnot as well, and PTSD and whatnot. So she is Gypsy, which is the one who's been doing the guided imagery for me, the visualizations, and it's just been amazing. You know what I mean? Like, she's been an amazing part of my healing journey, as well as my good friend, right? But it's good to have somebody in your life who will be there for you. Like, if you're a survivor and you're sitting there and you're just thinking, oh my God, I don't have any friends, like I got no family, because my family is still as abusive as they ever were, the three remaining members, right? And like, I don't want to hang around with those guys, right? Like, they're miserable and they're horrible. And the four of us, if we all four got in the same room, my dad, my brother, my sister, and myself, it's just going to turn out ugly, nasty. We might be able to sit there for a couple hours and just, if we talk about nothing, if we just watch TV or something, we'd be able to do that. But that's not really a family, you know what I mean? Like, we can't even have a conversation because none of us have anything in common, and we all were not there to support each other in this family of abuse, right? And my dad is still living, and he's just toxic, and my sister is dissociative, and my brother is he's old and he's a jerk, He just doesn't care. He's like, I got myself out of the abuse. Too bad for you guys. He took off. He didn't really have to run away. My parents wouldn't have looked for him. He was 16. He left the home, and he was like, bye-bye. So he was gone. Right about the time the social workers got involved, he was out of there. And, he said he was sorry. He wished he could have taken us all with him. He knew what kind of life we were going to live, but he was living on the streets. And he was like, man, I was 16 on the streets. What was I going to do? Like, he had to start looking after himself and get a job and support himself. And there's no way he could support a bunch of kids. But he knew, he was older than he was the second oldest. And so, he's still living, and he's like, I'm done with that. That is so not my life now, and I don't care. And so, well, good for him, right? You know what I mean? But there's some of us that were seriously scarred from this. I know my sister was, but she's in denial. She's got DID or something, I don't know, but she's in denial for sure. The only thing that she can remember about our childhood is the fact that my mom used to make cookies, right? My mom used to make cookies. Well, that's a fact, right? She made cookies about every other day. But the thing is she beat the shit out of me about every other day, too. Yeah, you know what I mean? I had cookies, but I also got my ass kicked on a regular basis and cursed out and cussed out and thrown out of the house and spit on. And, it wasn't a very good upbringing. And so my sister just remembers the cookies because my mom used to slap her around, too, right? So she didn't hurt her like she did me. She never beat on her with heavy objects. I never ever saw her hit her with an implement, But my mother used to love to just bash the crap out of me with whatever she could find. She just hated me. She just wanted to destroy my body, right? She just hated me, and she wanted to destroy me, period, right? But my sister, she kind of loved my sister. She felt sorry for my sister, but I don't think she truly loved her. I think she just felt sorry for her because my sister was like this sickly kid when she was born. Well, so was I, But my mother only talked about, well, your sister was sickly when she was born. I always had a soft spot for her, and it's like, right. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's why, I don't know. My mother was a little trippy. Like, my mother obviously had serious mental problems. But my mom used to dress her up like a boy, which is kind of bizarre. Most of my sister's school pictures, she's dressed as a boy with a boy's haircut. And I think that you want to know my real feelings on that and why my mother dressed her like a boy, right? Is because of the sexual abuse that was going on in the family, right? And I think that my mom was worried that my dad actually might sexually abuse her, or that one of the brothers would, or something. So my mother dressed her up as a boy. And so it's kind of bizarre. So then my sister actually used to wrap her breasts so she wouldn't even look like a girl, so she would look like a boy. It's kind of bizarre. So I know my sister's got some serious issues she's going to eventually have to face and work out. But that's her own deal. She's going to have to do it on her own time when she's ready, right? Who's to say when a person's ready to actually begin the healing work? You know what I mean? Like, it just happened with me. I just had to do it because I was going to kill myself 4.5 years ago, and I was planning my suicides again and going to self-injure, and I thought, I can't live like this anymore. I just can't. I'm going to have to do something. I'm either going to have to kill myself or I'm going to have to heal. But something's going to have to happen because I can't keep going like this. And that was my low point 4.5 years ago. I hit rock bottom again, Like, it's not like I hadn't hit rock bottom my whole life. I've been hitting rock bottom my whole life, and but that was pretty harsh because that was a situation where I didn't think I was going to come back from that. And I was like, I have to get help. I really do. Something told me to stick it out. Something said, you know what? If you give in, You're just letting your parents win this fight. This little small voice inside of me was talking to me, saying if you quit and you kill yourself and you give up and you self-injure and rip yourself to shreds, which is what I was going to do, all you're doing is allowing your parents to win. Then they've won over you. Then every single hurtful, harmful thing that they did to you and your brother, they won. And you're going to let them win? And then I got mad. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so true. Like if I hurt myself and I kill myself, all I've done is let them win. Like my two brothers that killed themselves, let my parents win this fight. And I thought, no way. I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm like, no way. I'm winning this fight. I'm going to come out of this whole and healed and happy and have a good life. And what a slap in the face to my two abuser parents and my brother. What a slap in the face to them. Like that's my way of saying, you know what? I win. I'm going to have a good life. I'm going to treat myself so extremely well. And I'm going to treat other people so extremely well. And I'm going to have like a good life, And just really, yeah, ha, couldn't kill me. Because that's what my two brothers, they killed themselves. You know what I mean? My oldest sister used to try to kill herself too. She had a gun and she used to disappear with her gun, saying she was going to kill herself and stuff. And for a few days she would drive and we'd be like, oh, she may do it. My whole family's suicidal. And I thought, yeah, if I kill myself, my parents won this fight. Those evil buggers, So I thought, no way, I'm not doing it. And I'll never ever plan my suicides again. So I made a deal with myself and a deal with, well, I know God doesn't make deals, but I promised God, and I made a deal with myself that was the last time. And that's been the last time. And I am happy to be able to say that, let me tell you that, because I have come so close so many times to killing myself, you know what I mean? Like been on so low and so down. So I know what this whole stuff is all about, and I know so many people suffer with this, right? And somewhere inside of you, if you're listening to this and you're there now or you've been there, you have to listen to that little small voice that says, "Are you going to let them win? Are you seriously going to let them win this fight?" No. No. You know what I mean? Like, no, we win. We win because we stick around and we get some help with whatever help we need with our issues, and we allow ourselves to heal and to get better, learn how to feel joy. We actually have to learn how to do that. Abused children, I never had a joyful moment in my life growing up in that home. I was able to experience some joy as a child, you know what I mean, like kid stuff, but not real internal joy. So I'm actually learning how to do that. And and appreciation, gratitude, all kinds of stuff, that I have to learn, right? And so, it's like such a burn on my parents. It's like, ha, 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 ha. You could not kill me. I'm going to put that on my gravestone. I'm serious. I'm so serious. I'm also going to get a tattoo. And, and I'm serious. And I'm going to say, yeah, you couldn't kill me. Ha, ha. And that's such a good feeling. That is such a good feeling. To know that I'm victorious over my abusers. Like, that makes me happy. So I hope you will do the same thing and stick around. Well, that's it for the show today. I think it was scheduled for an hour because it's still going. Hopefully it's been streaming. I have no idea because Blog Talk Radio had some issues. But I'll be back on tomorrow morning, same time, same place, and we'll just pick up where we left off here on this website from Soul Expressions Abuse Recovery, talking about the inner child healing work. So have a good day, everybody. Take good care of yourselves. And like I said, if you're having a hard time and you're thinking, man, I don't know, how I could even do one more day, then it's up to you, literally up to you. Make a phone call to a crisis line or something. It is your responsibility. We have to be responsible for ourselves. My two brothers killed themselves. They just let themselves be destroyed by my parents. I mean, how sick and pathetic. You know what I mean? And I was going to do the same thing, but it makes me mad. And who am I mad at? My parents, not my brothers for killing themselves. I'm extremely mad at my parents because even my dad today doesn't even care. He doesn't even care that his two sons lie in the grave because of him and my mom. And my mother, she probably didn't lose any sleep over it. My mother, on her deathbed, she didn't love us. She didn't want us. She didn't care about us, and she did not care that we were suffering or that she was hurting us or that she was hurting me or, she didn't care because she only cared about herself. right? And she was suffering, she was abused, and she didn't care that she was hurting anybody else. She was like, too bad, I'm hurting, you're going to hurt, right? And so my parents killed my brothers as far as I'm concerned, even though my brothers were the ones that did the final, made the decision to kill themselves. My parents killed them so many years ago when they were children, when they were boys, right? So, do not allow this to happen. Do not allow yourself to be destroyed by the abuse that you suffered. If you're a survivor and you're listening to this, we cannot allow that, right? Because that's exactly what our abusers want. That's exactly what our abusers wanted. And you know what? Shame on them. Shame on them. The shame lies with them, not with me. And I'm going to go on victoriously. And it's hard, and it's not easy, right? Day to day, hard stuff, man. But you got to find somebody that can help pull you through in this. You know what I mean? So whether it's a counselor, therapist, or whether it's a good friend, or group support, online group support, anonymous support, or just a crisis line, you find somebody to help you pull you through this. You know what I mean? And you grab onto their hands and you don't let go, right? And let them pull you along, right? When you can't go, because sometimes we can't do it on our own. Sometimes we do need to have somebody with us so they can grab onto our hands and not let go too, right? So make sure you do that, right? Take good care of yourselves, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.